So here we are a week away from E3, and I sort of wanted to get two things done in this one video. I want to discuss my plans for E3 2019 as it is next week. It's fast approaching on us. In fact, for me, it starts within 48 hours. And I wanted to sort of discuss why, in my opinion, E3 has just fallen way downhill since, over the years that it's been going on and since I've been going. So want to discuss these two things. First of all, I want to just say I'm sorry for not getting a video out last week. I actually just ran out of time and didn't really, know what I wanted to discuss. And so I was sort of, just sitting there being like, I don't really know what to put out, and I don't want to put out like a boring video, so I'll just wait till next week, and then here we are. So anyway, E3 2013 was actually the very first E3 technically that I went to, and I got invited because I won actually a little prize contest on Twitter. I won from Xbox an invitation to their E3 press conference. And so when I won this and they sent me a message saying, hey, you won, contact them. And, I did. And they basically sent me tickets to go to the E3, the Xbox E3 media briefing. And that was my first introduction to E3 was in 2013. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I could have easily used my YouTube channel even years before to be able to attend the E3 conventions. But, I think a lot of it as well is that I was watching E3 before I was old enough to attend E3. And so really I started watching E3 in about 2007. And that was basically the first time, my first introduction to watching E3, and I was getting really sort of involved with games at that time. And, it's just been a passion of mine to, sit there, and I've always wanted to go ever since I was a kid. And so when I got to go to the E3 press conference for Xbox, I sent emails out to the other conference people, and I actually was lucky enough to actually get invited to like the Sony conference at that time. I was contacting my friends who were also going, and my other fellow YouTubers who were able to we shared contact details, and we were able to get each other in, and vice versa. And so it was pretty exciting, and I had a really good first year of E3. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I didn't realize that at the time, but I always say, and it's very true for people who've been to these conventions, there is a drastic difference from actually going to these E3 press conferences versus just watching them at home. Because when you're watching them at home in your laid back, relaxed environment, it's like, oh, this is exciting that they show that, but it's like you're not presently there. You don't feel the rumbles of your internal organs like vibrating because the bass of this epic trailer that they're playing. You don't, really feel the excitement and just the emotions fill the room like you do when sitting in that theater chair. It is really an amazing experience, and I cannot stress that enough. That is something that you really do have to go and see and be a part of to really understand the difference. It's really hard to communicate that to people who just don't have that frame of reference. But it's very that was my first year I was able to actually go to these conventions, and I was so elated with being there and just being around these people and having friends that were there and hanging out, and it was just great. And I brought my friends along. I wanted to share the passion and share the love with them. And and over the years, a lot of them have sort of fell out of appreciation for games. It's like they don't follow it like maybe you and I do. It's like games just like a relaxing thing for them, and that's perfectly fine. I actually do want to get back to that point a little bit later on in this video, but I've been going to these press conferences ever since 2013, and this has been 6 years now. I'll be going again in actually just a couple days to a lot of these press conferences. And so it's always been a very exciting thing. It's always been something I've really looked forward to because I just love to plan out these days. Typically my weekends are spent sitting at home gaming. I'll occasionally go out and take care of some things or take care of some errands, but when it comes to E3 and, some other events like the Game Awards, for example, I just love that feeling of, I get to plan something out. It's super exciting. I love this time of year. And I really do. I love this time of year just for that fact of, hey, I get to go somewhere and I get to be a part of something that's really cool and really awesome and that I'm really passionate about. And so, I started actually going to the convention for E3 in 2016. That was the first year I was able to go. And that was because at the time, my partner network at the time, Machinima, the late Machinima, actually sent me tickets, and they said, "Hey, would you like to actually be a part of E3 2016? Well, we're sending out invites. We know that you've been wanting to go. Do you want to basically do you want us to take care of that for you?" And I was like, absolutely. And so this was, little did I know, this was the last year that E3 would have been closed off to the public. This was before E3 2017, where they opened it finally for everyone to come in and be a part of. This was really the last year where it was closed off to the public just for media people and representatives and executives and so on and so forth. And so I went to this convention in E3 2017, and I was so excited, man. I planned out everything when I went there. I printed out a huge floor plan of the actual whole convention center where E3 was being held, and I marked down where everyone was, and I made a full list. I made an itinerary of exactly what I would see and who I would visit on what day at what time, and I followed that basically to a T throughout my time actually being there at that convention. And I was able to walk away at the end of those 3 days going to that convention. I walked away and I saw 99.9% of everything I wanted to see. The only thing I didn't get to experience was the VR demo for Resident Evil 7 at the time. But man, when I was there, I was like, this is amazing. It was so nice too, because at that time it wasn't like super crowded, but you were around people who knew what they were doing. You were around media professionals. You were around executives, and I got to hang out with a bunch of my friends who went there. I met people like David Cage, and in person we talked a little bit about Quantic Dream Games and the story development and things like that. And it was just such a great experience. And I still I think back to that time, and I'm just like, where did those days go? And I'm going to dinner with my friends afterwards. All of us were laughing and talking about what we saw. I'm meeting all these other popular YouTubers who are now my friends. It was really freaking cool, man. And I still think back on that, and I was like, that's one of the best experiences I've ever had the pleasure of being a part of in my life, was just being around that environment. Next year came along, and E3 was now open to the public. So immediately for me, I was like, oh, this is great. I no longer have to sit there and rely on my partner network and other media inquiries to be able to actually attend these conventions. Now I can just buy myself a ticket and I can cover it for you guys. And I went there, but little did I realize that basically by E3 opening it to the public, they had sacrificed the core of what E3 was, and that was a professional convention where you got to meet with the people who made the game. You got to meet with the executives. It was sort of like a trade show. Business deals went down there. You got to play the game and cover it professionally. And what it turned into, and what it slowly has just become, is a fan festival. People go there, they're inexperienced, they don't know what they're doing, and they don't really know what they want to see, but they're going there for like one specific game. So for example, when I went in E3 2017, I was like, oh, I got to bring my friends along. So I brought my friends along. Little did I know they brought their friends along, who brought their friends along, and then all of a sudden it's this big group thing. Oh, we still got to freaking hang out and do all this cool stuff. And so I'm sitting there, right? And I knew how this whole thing worked because I went last year. So I told them, and I said this directly, and I said, if you stick with my plan, I promise you will get to see everything. And I told that to them directly. And they did not actually follow my suggestion, and they actually went along and just basically hung out with their friends, and as a result they didn't really get to experience anything. But the whole thing for me felt very uncoordinated, because even though I had my friends with me, all they were interested in doing was making it a big social event instead of making it more of a media event. And as a result, even though I brought my friends along with me, I was by myself basically for the majority of that convention. I didn't really have anyone I was actively hanging out with, and I was hoping that bringing them along, they would be able to help me record things and be at the event, because that was one thing I couldn't do when I was there. I couldn't record the things because it was just by myself. I couldn't sit there, and I didn't want to tell a stranger, hey, hold my camera for a bit. He could have walked off with the camera, for God's sakes, but still, even I don't think that would have happened, because these are media professionals who were able to go there. So I mean, the thing is, I went there, and E3 2017 was a very disjointed experience. And I realized quickly that this was not the same convention that I fell in love with the first time around. This was not the same convention that I had experienced last year. And unfortunately, I did not get to see everything I wanted to see. And even though I got to play some really cool games, and whatnot, I was surprised at just the uncoordination and the unpreparation, the dysfunctionality of these game studios and E3 itself, who were not prepared to take on the extra amount of people, the extra fans. These companies, you could tell, didn't know what the hell they were doing when they were inviting all these people to go into the convention. And so it was a very disappointing experience. It's one of the worst conventions I probably went to was that year, overall, just because of just how crowded it was, how terrible how terribly uncoordinated the everyone was. You could tell, like, the media people were desperately, like, trying to do their work, and they were constantly being interrupted by the typical fan who's just there because he paid for it and doesn't know what the hell he or she is doing. And I remember, walking to the Wolfenstein 2 the New Colossus little stage floor that they had going on, and I went there first thing in the morning because I really wanted to play the game. It was one of the most anticipated games for me that year. And I went to get into the line. The guy said, "Sorry, we're full." And keep in mind, this was as soon as E3 opened. Like, as soon as they opened their doors, they basically told me it was full. And I realized that there were people sitting in that line because it wrapped around. It went all the way to, down the hall. There are people sitting there in that line who were literally going to sit there for about 7 hours until the convention ends just to play Wolfenstein 2 the New Colossus. And that was not E3 the first time around. That was not what I experienced. The wait times and the lines were not that long. You got to sit there and you got to meet with the developers, who they were all super friendly. They all treated you with respect. People shared business cards with each other. That was not that experience at all in E3 2017. E3 2017 was terrible. And I realized I left that convention, and I said to myself, and I even said it in a video, I don't know if I'm going to be going to E3 next year. And E3 2018 came along, and I didn't. And here we are in E3 2019, and I didn't go to the convention. I appreciate that E3, that people who don't normally get to go to these type of events can now experience what E3 is. I do appreciate that, and I understand what that feeling is. I'm trying to not sound entitled here by saying this, and I'm definitely am not. I'm not, trying to give off that impression. I'm not trying to sit there and act like I somehow have more clout to go ahead and go to these things, and I should be given recognition more so than you are because of what I do here. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. But simply put, what I'm trying to say is that E3 itself, there's a difference between people who are passionate about games and then people who just play games because, it's just what they enjoy. It's kind of just their hobby. If you're really passionate about games, you should go to E3, really. And that's what E3 should be for, is for people who are really passionate about games, who love the industry, who love to be a part of that, that atmosphere, and meet these people who know these people and who have some knowledge and get excited about, just the technological aspects of creating games. These are the people that should be at E3 and should only be at E3. Because as soon as you start inviting the fanboys, as soon as you start inviting the little kids, as soon as you start inviting the people who just sit there and play games just because it's a social event with their friends and they just want to hang out and talk and don't really care about any of the trends going on, don't care about the industry, don't care about, innovative ideas, the people who don't care about that stuff, those are the guys who are now going to E3. And it sucks because they're sort of ruining it for everyone, and that shouldn't be the case. And so E3 for me has just turned into a fan festival, and it's not something that I really want to go to anymore because I know what that experience was like the first time, and it was such a drastic difference. I couldn't believe it. I went last year in 2016, and then I went the year after in 2017, and it was like two different conventions. It was like I'm not even at the same place. And that, it's such a bad sign when E3 themselves didn't prepare. They had break-ins, they had consoles stolen and things just smashed. I heard all these terrible things people posted. I'm part of this exclusive group on Facebook for party invites and all this talk about E3 with a bunch of industry people. I couldn't tell you how many posts, dozens of posts of people saying my laptop got stolen, something else was taken, and I never seen this before happen. I never seen these complaints. I never seen this thing happen before E3 2017 when they started inviting everybody, and it's just terrible. I think that's sort of why, we're seeing such a shift in terms of the mood and the mindset of what E3 is from a bunch of people, because it's not the same anymore. And E3 itself as an organization is now concerned with making money and profits. Oh, we can charge people $200 to go to these freaking conventions. And it's just like, it's you missed the point. This is supposed to be an opportunity for game journalists and people who are passionate about games and industry executives to meet and create relationships and to play these games and cover these games, and people who are really care about this industry to really come together and just celebrate what's great about gaming. And it's not that anymore. It's a social event. It's turned into a fan festival where you can just go and you have shitty food and you stand in line for shitty long wait hours, and it just sucks. So, it's a shame that E3's turned into that, unfortunately, and it breaks my heart because of how much fun I had at E3 2016, and I realized I'm likely to never get that experience again. I'm likely never going to be able to be able to have that feeling of going there and being like, wow, this is amazing. And then having planned out an entire itinerary for the entirety of E3 and being able to go to each one because I was organized and so was everyone else. You can't do that anymore. I'm never going to have that experience. And it really is sad to me. So, I really want to get from your guys' perspective what you think about E3 overall now. Some of you may have gone to E3 before. Maybe I've met some of you at E3. Do you find yourselves in a very similar position where, maybe some of you don't have that experience of what E3 was like before? And so when you went to E3 either in 2017 or, a year or two later, when you went to E3, maybe for you, it's sort of like, I don't know what you're talking about. That was a lot of fun, but you had no previous frame of reference of what E3 was before. So to you, that is E3. But, what I'm trying to tell you is basically, no, it was not actually. It was drastically different, much better organized, and things weren't stolen from people and people knew what they were doing. And just being around that atmosphere was drastically different than the atmosphere it is currently. So let me know what you guys think about E3. Now, before I end the video here, I do want to talk about my plans for E3 2019. All right, once again, as I've already stated many times in this video, I am not actually going to the convention. Now, I've, of course, made this decision because of just what I talked about. It's turned into a fan festival, and I just don't feel like spending $250 to go and then being disappointed once again with, not being able to see everything that I wanted to see. But here is basically what I am doing. I am attending the press conferences since those are invites only. You can't just go there. You have to be an industry person or a media person, or you have to at least care enough that you would sign up on their sites if they have it open to the public. So on Saturday coming up, I'll basically be at EA Play for the entirety of the day. I already got they have a little theater thing for Star Wars Jedi The Fallen Order, so I am looking forward to that. That'll be pretty fun, but I'll basically be at EA Play the entire day there. I don't think there's much going on there. Honestly, the only thing I'm really looking forward to from EA upcoming is Jedi Fallen Order, but you don't even get to play the game there. It's just supposed to be a presentation, so it'll be interesting. I am so the day after, which is Sunday, I'll be attending the Microsoft Xbox E3 media briefing, which I've been to since 2013. I've been going every single year, and this will be the 6th year that I've gone, and I'm really looking forward to that. Xbox had a good conference these past couple of years, so I'm really hoping that this conference will really shine. Sony is no longer going to be at that conference, and even EA is no longer doing a press conference, but Sony's usually, has really good press conferences, and so I'm really hoping that Xbox takes this opportunity to just really blow everyone out of the park. I want to see the next Xbox console at least discussed, shown, or what would be really cool is if they say, you know what, we can't show you the console yet, but here are some side-by-side comparisons of some games that here's what they look like on Xbox One. here's what they look like on the next Xbox. So I think that will be a pretty interesting if they do something like that. But regardless, I'll be going there. Then after, later that night, I'll be going to the Bethesda E3 2019 showcase, which I'm very excited about going. I unfortunately wasn't able to go last year due to capacity restrictions. They weren't able to fit me, but they did get me in this year, thankfully. So I'm really looking forward to the Bethesda E3 2019 showcase. On Monday, we have the PC gaming show. Now, I normally I've skipped this. I've been to the very first one, and it was kind of boring, to be quite honest with you. And so I've skipped it literally for 5 years, every single year since. Or actually, no, because they started in 2014. So I've skipped it for 3 years at this point, I believe. But I am actually going. This year, and the reason that I am going is quite simply because I want to see in action, hopefully, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Really looking forward to that game. It looks like Deus Ex to me, and I love Deus Ex, and so I'm really hoping that this game really knocks it out of the park. If we can get some PC gameplay running in real time, showing us all the different graphical effects, yeah, I'm gonna love that. And so I'm going to be attending that, and afterwards I'm going to be walking to the Ubisoft E3 press conference. And so I'll basically be there, and I'll be covering the Ubisoft press conference. Here's hoping for another Splinter Cell, but based off what we've heard, Ubisoft doesn't have any plans for another Splinter Cell. Maybe they're teasing us, though. Maybe we will see another Splinter Cell, but Watch Dogs Legion has been leaked, so that'll be pretty interesting. I do like the setting that I'm hearing. London would be pretty interesting. I'm tired of all these games that take place in America. It's like I live in the U.S. I don't want to play games that take place in the U.S. as much. I'd rather have these more exotic places that I haven't been to, places like Japan and places like maybe Europe, like London. I think would be a pretty interesting open world if they do it really right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Ubisoft press conference, and hopefully something about Splinter Cell. Please, it's been too long. And then afterwards, I'm coming home, and I'm basically going to be watching the Square Enix E3 press conference. Quite specifically for Dying Light 2 and maybe Avengers, although I don't know what Avengers is going to be like. I'm not big into the whole Marvel thing at all. But if they can make a really good action game, and Crystal Dynamics, they brought back Tomb Raider, only for freaking Square Enix to ruin it again, but they brought back Tomb Raider successfully, so maybe they can bring Avengers into a very successful spot. So we're going to have to see. And so basically, yeah, then, the following day after that is when E3 the convention starts, but I'm not going, so I'm just sitting at home, and I'll be basically playing, depending on if the Twitter poll wins, either Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm going to be starting after I do my replay of Red Dead Redemption 1, because I do want to replay Red Dead Redemption 1 since I have the Xbox One X, and it got upscaled to 4K. That's going to look freaking amazing. So I'll either be playing Red Dead Redemption, or I'll be playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or Yakuza Kiwami 2. So one of those three, depending on whoever votes for the Twitter poll. But anyway, that's it, guys. So I do hope that you have a good rest of your week. I'll be doing an in real life vlog like I did last year for E3 2018. So I'll be doing that again this year. And then I'll also do an impressions video with some gameplay like I am here, basically on the more exciting things that I saw and whatnot. So you guys will have some content, and I'll try to get that out during the week. And we'll go from there. All right, guys. So thank you so much. I appreciate all just your support and, all the effort in watching these videos. I really do appreciate it. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will talk with you later.